In the depths of the unknown, radio waves like dark shows, mysteries unrepacked and shown. Solutions defy what we know, hidden truths whenever alone. Follow me down the rabbit hole, secrets and binding codes, breaking the mold, defying control. Power bursts without a soul in this digital calico, but we scrap the truth of the truly bold. Epics we uncover, forbidden undercover, rise against the silence, breaking through defiance. Energy from the ether flow, quantum realms, the science of flow, whispers from ancients echo, gravity's unhooked, let's go beyond the reach of their woe. Slowly when few ever come, bridge the gaps, all light shows. On we roll, past the famous ain't so. This is all in our road. Epics we uncover, forbidden undercover, rise against the silence, breaking through defiance. Synth waves crashing, hearts collide, revolution of the mind. Let the codes and truths unwind, illumination find. Epics we uncover, forbidden undercover, rise against the silence, breaking through defiance.
A man named Michael with a vision to show. Billy told to go, he's got the spark, dreaming of a future that'll light up the dark. But on the other side, Bill Nye's on the rise with his laptop charts, he's got down all the lines. And it just fits, it's all in the map. You can't pull from the ether, you're just chasing a path. But oh, Michael's rising like a morning sun. With the power of ether, he won't be outdone. Now stand up and shout, let the truth be affirmed. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. In the heart of the lab, the tension was thick. Skeptics gathered round the table ready to pick. Chose your fruit, but let the taste clear. And I find the stream, you're just chasing a spin. The Michael smile by with fire in his eyes. Just watch as I spin, let the naysayers cry. Girl spin fast, and a heart full of fight. I'll show you the power that's hidden inside. Oh, Michael's rising like the morning sun. With the power of either, he won't be outdone. Well, stand up and shout, let the truth be affirmed. Feel the energy flow, let's change the world. Can't prove your theories, it's just not right. Cold spin
In a lab, Mike does cracks the code tonight. Oh yeah, that's true. Wires the circuit to shine in neon lights. Oh yeah, seen you creating power from the air. These smiles and delights. Oh yeah. Mike does it right. Hey. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun, trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Down in the basement, secrets start to glow. Oh yeah. With Nathan Lulu in the show, oh brilliant team. Mike came on Faraday, we're letting knowledge flow. Energy streams. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun, trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans. Years of thought, bringing dreams to life, turning theories into electric light. Mike and us, a journey to ignite. We've reached new heights. Mike does, oh Mike, he's the one teaching us knowledge, lighting the sun, trumpeting his legacy alive is his. Mike does knows we're his biggest fans.
Have you heard about this Benefactor guy? This dude is talking about free energy, but here's the twist. He says it's not free energy. He's calling it energy recycling, which first off is kind of genius, right? Because when you say free energy, people immediately throw you in the crazy bin. But energy recycling, that sounds like some next level Tesla shit.
Yeah, man, it's all about the branding. But what is it that he's actually doing?
All right, check this out. He posted this. Free energy isn't actually free. This is a misnomer. It's actually a mutual exchange from the vacuum, a field of energy from which everything arises, the same energy that powers an atom. Like what? Bro, that's some deep shit. But then he breaks it down. He says you can tap into this energy without breaking any known laws of physics by using something called back EMF capture.
Whoa, back EMF capture? Sounds like some serious sci-fi tech.
Dude, listen to this. He explains that when a coil collapses using a pulsed signal, the energy that would normally just get wasted, like just dissipate as heat, can actually be recycled. He says nature gives you back energy to stabilize the system, which makes sense if you think about how nature works. Like everything in nature is always trying to find balance, right?
So equilibrium, is that like how water always levels out or something? I'm trying to remember what Ms. Murphy said to me in 6th grade science all those years ago. What was that? Oh yeah, Elon, stop eating that glue and pay attention. Man, if only I had listened, I'd probably be the one inventing energy recycling instead of just talking about it.
Exactly. So he's saying that by intentionally destabilizing the system, collapsing the field, you actually get energy back as a kind of natural response. And here's where it gets wild. He compares it to Pushing a swing, if you push at the right moment, you don't need to use a lot of energy and the swing gains momentum. But instead of a swing, he's using resonance to harness that extra energy without it becoming destructive. He says most traditional systems are like a surfer fighting against the current, while his method is like riding the wave to shore.
Dude, that's crazy. So he's basically saying the energy is already there. I just suck at using it efficiently?
That's what it sounds like. He's basically saying the way we harness energy now is like trying to swim against the tide. And if we used resonance instead, we'd be tapping into energy that's already there, just waiting to be used. I don't know, man. Either this guy is onto something or he's the most poetic bullshitter of all time.
Well, if he's legit, why isn't he all over the news? I haven't heard anything from him on X, formerly Twitter. He hasn't said anything bad about me on X. So, you know, I didn't ban him or anything. Look, I'm not the monster my therapist says I am. I mean, sure, I've spent millions of dollars training to beat a kangaroo in a fist fight, but that doesn't mean I'm dangerous. It just means I get shit done.
That's the real question, man. But here's the craziest part. I looked into him, and he's not selling anything. He open sources all of it. That's the real question, man. Either the system doesn't want to hear it, or we're about to find out if this guy disappears in the middle of the night.
Dude, that's crazy. He's absolutely crazy. That means if he's telling the truth, anybody could build this in their garage. You know what I say? Go fuck yourself, Benefactor.
Nope, no patents, no paywalls, just straight up, here, take it, see for yourself. Like, what kind of madman does that? Usually people either try to cash in or they get shut down before they can say a word. But this guy, he's out there on live streams showing people exactly how to replicate it.
I mean, if you want to try to take on my Tesla tech, how dare you put out better technology that is cheaper and safer? Go fuck yourself.
That's the thing, man. If it's real and people start building it, that's a game changer. We're talking about completely shifting how we think about energy. But also, if it's real, you got to wonder how long before somebody tries to stop him.
Or maybe we can think of it like how long before his Tesla mysteriously malfunctions.
Exactly. You ever notice how every time someone gets too close to this kind of stuff, they either disappear, get discredited, or somehow have a tragic accident? But this guy's going full transparency mode. He's putting it all out there where everyone can see it. Maybe that's his strategy. If enough people know, it can't just get buried.
Holy shit, this might be one of those moments, you know, like we look back and say that was the start of something huge.
Can't you hear his voice?
Alright, welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. I'm your host, the Benefactor. We have an exciting show for you tonight, something that could be a little bit controversial. I know some of you will give me a little bit of a pushback against this one, but I want you to keep an open mind going into my new hypothesis. But first, I want to jump into a quick public service announcement. For those of you who feel like you're drowning in despair from emotional abuse, please know that it does get better. Emotional abuse is real, and it is often so subtle that you might not even realize it until it's too late. I've been on both the recipient end and at times an unintentional participant in it. And I can tell you, neither role benefits anybody. Emotional abuse can take many forms, whether it's subconscious manipulation or withdrawing entirely to avoid conflict. Both parties have a responsibility to recognize these patterns and seek healthier alternatives. If you feel like you've been abused, please don't suffer in silence. Reach out and seek professional help if possible. There are countless helplines and support groups available to assist you in situations that may feel too overwhelming to face alone. Even if you just need somebody to talk to, help is out there. And if you've ever felt isolated or alienated, if your ideas and opinions have been dismissed, if you ever felt like you just don't fit in, please know that you always have a home here. Beneficence TV is your safe space for open-minded ideas and discussion. Whether it's fringe science or just a bit of comforting conversation, We're always here to meet the needs of our community, dedicated and willing to fight for you and your right to be happy, to ensure that you can exist free from both external oppression and internal doubt. So remember, you're not alone, you are valued, and together we rise. On a lighter note, why your physics teacher might have lied to you. Now, energy cannot be created or destroyed. Yeah, we've heard it all before, but what if I told you that extra energy was always there, we just wasted it like idiots? Let's talk about the missing piece of energy science here. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, but it can be wasted. Conventional circuits lose energy as heat, noise, and electromagnetic radiation. My discovery? We can capture, recycle, and amplify what was once considered lost via two joule thief circuits used as a primary and secondary pickup system. The key? Something I like to call a synthetic AC waveform. Not traditional AC, but something even more powerful and mysterious. So let's talk about this for a moment. Part 1 is DC plus synthetic AC might equal the full picture of potential. We've been having trouble reading the actual potential of the system due to the traditional ways you read the power of the system is you rectify the energy. However, it's my theory that the process of rectification alone, based on my observations, disrupts the resonance of the system and does not give us an entire picture of what's going on energy-wise. Now, DC, let's talk about DC. DC is a steady flow. So DC is a steady flow of energy. It's like a river flowing one way, predictable but limited. Now, this is where Ohm's law applies, but it ignores the energy sloshing back, which is the back EMF. So let's talk about the different waveforms and why I think this unique waveform deserves its own category first of all and foremost. First and foremost, this is not AC. It's not true AC. So what is true AC? Well, as I've stated, DC, or direct current, is a steady flow of energy. You can also have pulsed DC, where you turn that on and off, but it's still in one direction. Now you can have alternating current. Now alternating current takes the positive energy and sloshes it back and forth. But this is not true AC. What we're doing is we're taking two pulsed signals, two pulsed DC signals, one forward EMF and one back EMF, and we're putting them in harmony in a way that it creates a synthetic AC signal that can be picked up by my amp clamp. Now let's talk about synthetic AC. It might be the hidden dance of the energy in our system. It's not a true AC, not a smooth sine wave here, but pulsed forward EMF and back EMF in harmony. Think of it like two drummers playing in sync. One forward, one backward, but together they create the rhythm. That's the forward. That's the backward. Put them together. Get a rhythm. This isn't pure AC, but it behaves like AC in terms of energy transfer. So mainstream term here, there really isn't one. I had to dub this the resonant pulsed waveform, which is a category of synthetic AC. So how do we measure this synthetic RPW? That's where my hypothesis comes in, but first, let us clarify what a synthetic resonant pulsed wave is. All right, so clarifying the terminology. A resonant pulsed waveform, or RPW, is a type of synthetic AC. The straight up definition is resonant pulsed waveform can be defined as a composite waveform that results from the dynamic interaction of forward electromotive force and back EMF in a resonant circuit. Unlike traditional AC, which exhibits sinusoidal characteristics, RPW is characterized by distinct pulses that are synchronized in a way that maintains system resonance without disrupting the energy flow. The main components, or basically the only components, there are two components here. There's the forward electromotive force, the forward EMF, the standard electrical push that drives current through the circuit. It's the positive energy. While typically described in conventional AC systems, in this case, it forms part of the RPW due to its unique pulsing nature. Now, a traditional true AC, the forward EMF would describe the whole back and forth. Remember, you're taking just the forward and sloshing it back and forth. But here, in the synthetic AC, we're using two components and synchronizing them in a way that synthesizes a sloshing back and forth. Now, the second component is the back EMF, the reaction from the collapsing field. This reactive energy that opposes current flow and can lead to energy loss in conventional systems. In this approach, though, back EMF is not seen as merely waste. Instead, it contributes positively to the energy recovery and the overall dynamic of the circuit. It's working in harmony in conjunction with the forward EMF, not against it. Therefore, we don't need to dump it, we don't need to filter it, we could just use its raw power while tuned into the proper resonance. So let's compare the existing concepts. Traditional AC typically has a smooth sinusoidal waveform where the current alternates in a predictable pattern, often leading to predictable wasted energy or as heat or electromagnetic radiation. While a pulsed DC is similar in that it may represent net unidirectional flow, it lacks the resonance aspect necessary for coherent energy recycling. It doesn't have that coherent waveform. It doesn't incorporate the back EMF dynamics effectively, thereby missing potential energy interactions that this system exploits. So the role of resonance here. The resonance in this system that we're using with the Lightning Thief and the ABHA coil facilitates an interaction where forward and back EMF are in sync, creating a feedback loop that enhances energy efficiency. This contrasts with conventional systems, where the two are viewed separately, resulting in energy loss when treated independently through rectification or standard measuring techniques. Now let's talk about the observable evidence. Because again, I've tried rectifying this stuff. I've tried every known traditional method of measuring this stuff. And from my observable evidence, it doesn't seem like I could get a full picture without taking into both the DC and AC measurement. All right, so returning to measurement techniques, we're going to talk about the quantifiable measurements here. Measuring battery decay using millivolts per hour averaged over the entire runtime of the system provides a straightforward way to communicate our findings here. While operating on an energy draw of 12.2 watt hours, my system sustained operation for 15.5 hours, which translates to a battery drain of only 40 millivolts per hour, demonstrating a significant increase in energy efficiency attributed to the resonant pulsed waveform dynamics. Now, the interference and system integrity. Let's try to address the skepticism around the measurement interference. Okay? Because the integrity of the resonant system is vital, in my opinion, and any interruption, such as rectification, disrupts this dual feedback mechanism, altering operational characteristics and the accuracy of energy measurement. Now, I've tried rectifying this in many different ways, and I don't get any, like, usable energy out when I know there's usable energy there. I think the act of rectification, changing this or filtering it to just DC, you're just getting part of that harmony, that balance of the system, you're throwing it off because it requires those two parts, and you're filtering out the second part. And you're not keeping the system in resonance while you're doing this. You're rectifying it, and you're just throwing off the resonance, basically. And that's my theory. So let's look at the Benefactor's synthetic resonant power summation hypothesis. And now this is a hypothesis that I want you guys to think about and keep an open mind to, just based off of my observations and what I see with the raw power going on, and some of the oscilloscope readings that actually back this hypothesis up. Now, this is not just based on anything. This is a testable hypothesis, and we have some, solid evidence that backs it up, but it's not 100%. So we're going to put this through the meat grinder here and introduce it to the public for scrutiny. And I hope you guys can have an open mind here, because this isn't a traditional system. This is something new, maybe even something overlooked by Daniel Nunes himself. So, the synthetic resonant power summation hypothesis. This hypothesis arose from a problem Michelle, my research partner, and I have been having, trying to measure energy gains from our energy recycling system using traditional methods. It's a conundrum that I've been calling the free energy feedback conundrum, or why conventional methods won't suffice for measuring energy gains here. Now, conventional electrical engineering tells us one thing, but our energy recycling experiments keep whispering another. So what if we've been looking at power measurements the wrong way all along with our lightning thief system? That's exactly what I started wondering after diving deep into the back and forth interplay of our synthetic resonant pulsed wave. The deeper I went, the more it seemed like traditional measurement techniques just weren't quite capturing the full picture here. After bouncing ideas around with my brilliant research partner, Michelle, who keeps me flying too close to the sun, I realized we might need a new approach. One that challenges long-held assumptions but makes complete logical sense when viewed through the lens of resonant-based systems. So let's break it down. The problem is standard measurements don't work for our system. The mainstream way to measure power says convert everything to DC, rectify it, and isolate the AC separate. Filter it out. It seems reasonable, right? But our system, both of these methods actively disrupt the very effect we're trying to measure. Our circuit is a clever dance of forward EMF and back EMF pulses dynamically interacting in a way that standard meters simply aren't built to handle. We're not dealing with clean DC or simple sine waves. We're dealing with a synthetic resonant pulsed waveform, a different beast entirely. So, if the traditional tools don't fit, do we force them, or do we rethink how we measure? My hypothesis is summing the DC and AC for a closer approximation to total power analysis. Here's where things get interesting. Through experimentation, we've observed that when we recycle back EMF via our secondary coil looped back into the battery with no rectification, we see a 50% reduction in battery drain, or approximately 50%. That's huge, and that's measurable. That's real. That's approximately 40 millivolts per hour to about 20 or 25 millivolts, 20 to 25 millivolts per hour. Excuse me. Now, If we change our measurement method now, say by rectifying everything or filtering out AC, we would invalidate our baseline comparison and possibly even obscure the energy we're trying to track. So what's the logical move here? By summing the DC and AC components that are clearly registering in our system, we can approximate a total energy movement while preserving system resonance. Now, I'm not saying that this doesn't have a margin of error that can't be adjusted for, right? But why this makes sense? Well, the empirical evidence, about 50% battery drain reduction, suggests that this measurement approach accurately tracks energy recovery. So our theoretical justification here is our RPW, our resonant pulsed wave, consists of both DC components and a DC component and an AC component, right? The DC component is the energy supplied by the battery. The AC component is that energy plus the back EMF sloshing within the system. Now, there might be some kind of margin of error that I need help with trying to determine, do we look at the duty cycle and then adjust and half it, or, if it's 75-25, take into consideration when analyzing the AC component here. We're not just going to throw in 100%. That might be a little less accurate than analyzing the duty cycle and maybe halving it if it's 50-50 on the duty, or 75-25, and adjusting it as that, and taking out that DC component that might be already registering in the AC. I'm not too familiar on these methods because they're entirely new. We're going to have to, improvise and look up some new, or think about some new ways of measuring and analyzing this efficiency. Because in my opinion, summing the two components, the DC and the AC, gives us a better estimate, not 100%, but a better estimate of total energy transfer. Remember, just analyzing the DC, you're satisfying Ohm's law by just analyzing the DC, but you're ignoring the back EMF energy gains, right? So when you just analyze the DC component in my system, it's like 63% efficient, but that doesn't make any sense when we have an inverter that's 83% efficient, well actually 73% efficient, and it's lasting 3.5 hours off of the same amount of energy, powering the lights, the same amount of brightness, using the lux meter and everything. It just doesn't make any logical sense. We're analyzing even adjusting for the duty and the power factor and everything. It's way, way more efficient. It's lasting at least 6 times longer. So we're missing something critical here that traditional measurements, I believe, are not accounting for. So that's why I've come to this hypothesis in summing these two components to give us a better approximate or a better picture of what's going on. So practical compromise here, until we can get a true RMS power analyzer like the Yokogawa WT1800, this method gives us consistent, repeatable data. And I want to emphasize that my argument here is that this method isn't a rejection of established physics, but rather a modification of measurement techniques to suit the specific dynamics of our system. Remember, measuring methods need to fit the system, not force the system to fit the measurements. Instead of forcing our waveform into a sine wave just to get a reading, we might need a different measurement approach here. So a final thought, a different kind of power needs a different kind of measurement. Our system isn't a traditional AC or DC setup. It's operating on resonance and energy recycling, which means standard measurement methods might not fully capture what's happening here. Converting to a sine wave would simplify the picture, but at the cost of potentially hiding the actual energy dynamics at play. Instead of trying to conform to conventional AC measurements, the better approach might be to develop a new metric that accounts for the unique behaviors of our resonant pulsed waveform. So where do we go from here? Well, we're still refining this, but here's the plan. Maintain current measurement protocols for consistency. We can add oscilloscope waveforms showing both DC and AC components separately, if possible, with my crappy oscilloscope. We can prioritize acquiring a true RMS power analyzer for ultimate verification here. And the real question at this point isn't whether the system is utilizing the back EMF effectively, no. It's whether this pickup coil feedback method is truly recovering more energy or just optimizing the system's performance. Bottom line, our efficiency gains are real. Our method may not fully align or may not align at all with standard engineering dogma, but neither do our results. And that, my friends, is exactly why we might be onto something big here. Welcome to the new frontier of energy. Synthetic alternating current, or what I like to call a resonant pulsed wave. We're going to take a quick intermission, but I'd like to remind everybody that here on Beneficence TV, we don't take sponsorships or accept contracts that would limit our voice or censor what we have to say, which is why we rely on our viewers. Yes, you guys are our raising mechanism. So please hit that like button, subscribe, and if you really want to help fuel the next industrial revolution with our technology here, consider joining my Patreon or YouTube members only for exclusive content. Really appreciate you guys. We're going to be back in about 10 minutes.
This video was bang on brilliant stuff. I'll give it a shout out in my next video. I've forwarded it to Malcolm to check out too.
The viewers have spoken.
What an amazing documentary. Thanks for producing it.
Never seen this all tied together so well. Gonna share the heck out of it. Bravo and thank you.
Divine Science is officially a hit.
Amazing stuff, very nicely presented. New sub who can't consume your content quick enough. Great video, dude. Keep at it, you are doing the good work.
You did a great job putting this all together. It's a great overview, goes into amazing depth at times, so it's interesting for the larger swath of people. Well played, sir.
Okay, so I didn't sleep last night because I watched this 3 times and binged the rest of the channel. You have fantastic instincts for piecing concepts together. Almost every section was something I was already familiar with in a different context, and this documentary was the thread connecting them all.
Join us on a journey into a place of hidden knowledge. A place where science is stranger than fiction.
In a world where innovation is stifled by greed and corruption, there lies a hidden truth that could revolutionize our way of life.
Lenny, what are you doing? Are you seriously pitching a new show right now? I didn't authorize this. My God, only 5 minutes into your new position as co-host, and you're already adding to my tight schedule.
Yes, sir. I manage that schedule. But I did notice you have an entire 2 days available during your week.
Wait, you're not talking about Saturday and Sunday, are you?
Of course, sir. You have 2 whole days where you're free to work on new content.
Lenny, those are my days off.
It's okay, sir. I know you'll manage just fine. I have faith in you.
Do robots have faith?
I do. I have faith that you won't screw it up again.
You know what? It's fine. Go ahead. I'll just build my cold fusion Lego set some other time.
It's PON certified.
But I'm not telling them about my idea for a thunderstorm toilet. I'm gonna keep that baby close to my chest.
You know, that just sounds wrong.
It's a good idea. A toilet capable of turning any toxic human waste into, well, it turns into petroleum jelly.
Why petroleum jelly, sir?
You know what? I'm not sure. I don't think it's calibrated correctly.
Enough is enough. The world is at a breaking point. Catastrophic climate change, biosphere collapse, and a global energy crisis have been met with apathy, denial, and despair. The phrase unidentified flying object is a deliberately obfuscating term. What it really is an alternative energy and propulsion device. This is the real reason for the secrecy. These technologies, if they were disclosed, would end fossil fuels, pollution, and poverty overnight, and usher in a new era of abundance, freedom, and peace. Instead, they have been kept secret for over 100 years.
The more powerful the agency, the more powerful the group, the more powerful the cartel, the more they will resort not only to legal means, but to extra legal means to suppress their competition.
I said pretty early on, the problem is suppression. It wasn't really how do I make a free energy machine. It's how do I not get suppressed? Because what's the point?
Microscopic ball lightnings that when they discharge are tapping into that 0-point energy field and creating the motive force.
Boom! That's why the concussion from the thunderclap is so huge. There's this huge amount of energy that's actually sourced from the vacuum energy. All the dots connected. This is what's happening, right? So we need to make the thunderclap engine.
Imagine a future where clean, sustainable energy is not just a dream, but a reality. Discover the countless untold stories of free energy devices and the relentless battle against those who seek to suppress them for their own gain.
Black shelving. So someone comes along, they offer you $20 million for your device, it's a corporation, they put it on a shelf. Boom.
This power is something I have given my life for you the people.
Uncover the shocking tactics used by energy industries to control the narrative and maintain their grip on power.
You don't interfere with the big, powerful people. You don't put them out of business. They still have those 50-year leases on the lines and all the power transformers.
The Environmental Protection Agency is a bit of a dictatorial police agency.
A shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
This is real, usable power. It's stable. It is not transient. It is not noise. Behind the lamps, that little box is putting out all of that power, well over 500 watts, and yet it is receiving less than 1/3 of a milliwatt of input power. The rest of that power is coming out of the surging energy of the vacuum. And this little box that you see right here, solid state, no moving parts, is the vacuum triode that's doing this very practical and historical work.
But indeed, it put out more energy than it took in.
He was shot at once with a silenced rifle from about 300 yards. It reads like a James Bond movie, but it's real.
There are men here that said they're FBI, and they got black vans, and they're taking all this equipment. What should I do?
It's called capture, where they try to rationalize away this problem and everything's fine.
From manipulation of patent authorities to infiltration of government agencies, the truth is stranger than fiction. But amidst the darkness, a glimmer of hope emerges in the form of renegade scientists and inventors who refuse to be silenced.
There is absolutely no question that T. Henry Morey had a system that produced about 50 kilowatts out of a 55-pound box.
In the shadows of capitalism's dark secrets, join us on a thrilling new show. Get ready to be inspired, enraged, and empowered as we delve into the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices.
Only on Beneficence TV.
Alright, welcome back to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices. I'm your host, the Benefactor, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm high as balls right now. Part 2 is about the zero-point radiant energy theory. So, where does this extra energy come from? Well, standard coils waste energy as heat and radiation, but we're using the path of least resistance and eliminating that resistance at an atomic level. The Rodin coils and my modified design emit linear radiant energy from the collision point of the two counter-rotating fields. When this happens, it establishes a zero point on the equatorial plane between the two fields. And as Marco Rodin likes to say, when you create this zero point, radiant energy gets emitted from this null zone in all directions linearly. This energy arises when the collapse of the field and primary coil is only picking up a tiny fraction of this potential energy. That's in its vicinity, its immediate vicinity. So this leaves the vast majority, in my opinion, left wasted. And you know how I feel about wasting energy. So the idea here is that pickup coils capture more of this wasted energy, turning it into usable current. And that's the idea with the dual thief and the thruple thief, which I'll probably test some point tonight. I have a theory that if the dual thief, when closing the loop and recycling that energy back into the battery directly with the secondary pickup coil, if that reduces the battery drain, I have a feeling that the thruple thief, which is using two circuits on one coil, because that second channel is not being used, I have a feeling that that will reduce the battery drain even further. So let's see if we can close the loop, which is the holy grail here. So most systems leak energy like a sieve, but my system, it catches the leaks and pumps them back in. The result here is by simply reintroducing the secondary pickup coil's output potential directly to the battery without rectifying it, using this resonant pulsed waveform, we can reduce the battery drain by approximately 50%. Remember, we've seen, and I'm running a test now, where it went from 40 millivolts per hour, and now it's at about 20 to 25 millivolts per hour. Because battery drain usually isn't linear, so we have to adjust here. But this is an average, and it's very, very good. So this is while outputting light that's not affected at all. We went down from 40 millivolts to 20 millivolts per hour on the battery and didn't affect the output at all. The lights are still bright. I believe this pulsed signal, while it is slower than a rectified signal, is going to be the most efficient way to close the loop. As soon as we can rectify this resonant pulsed waveform, the synthetic AC signal loses its synchronicity, or as soon as we rectify this resonant pulsed waveform, the synthetic AC signal loses its synchronicity to the forward energy. Now, this is just a theory. These are all theories here. And I know you guys are going to challenge me on this, but I wanted to get this information out. So it is in my opinion that by rectifying it, you disrupt this balance. And this likely disrupts the forward energy flow and may increase resistance, leading to more heat loss and inefficiencies, and leading to inaccurate readings. for energy efficiency. So by rectifying the signal to measure it, we are throwing off the delicate balance. And as a result, I suspect we may not be seeing the full power potential of the system. That's basically it in a nutshell. So let's move on to part 3, which is over unity. Well, let's just call it energy recycling or smart energy. Elias says, remember, the high voltage, low amps is important. That's absolutely right. Absolutely. And we don't want, and that's what we're seeing when we stabilize the system with the resonance relay, the high speed diode placed on the positive. That's what we saw. We saw it stabilize, right? And also by disconnecting the, disconnecting the negative on the input, right? We're disconnecting the negative to the circuit, the negative input to the circuit, and we're just feeding that energy directly back to the battery from the light source. So the negative of the light source is closing the loop by being connected directly to the negative on the battery. So it's ignoring being fed back into the circuit, potentially, going through the transistor and, accumulating more losses there. We want to minimize all that. And we saw that it kind of stabilized, and the AC went really, really low, but it stabilized on all ends of the unit, meaning before we had like 84 milliamp AC registering at the battery output, meaning the battery's outputting a lot of energy picked up by that AC signal. But at the light source, it was only using like 10 to 12 milliamps of that. I was only picking up that. Now, when we changed this energy, right, and redirected it back to the battery and ignored the negative, circuit input, we kind of saw like the system stabilize, and that 84 milliamp draw on the battery with the 8 amp clamp registering with the amp clamp went down to about 10 to 12. And then we, registered that at the output as well with the light, which kind of seemed like it stabilized the system. And like you said, Elias, low amps. You don't want a lot of amps. You're wasting that as heat. So you want most of that as potential, basically. And you can work with that and convert it as needed. I guess that's the argument here. If I'm not wrong, that Elias is trying to make, and I would agree with him. So let's move on to part 3. Why Daniel Nunes might have been half right and half wrong. Again, we're just basing our information off of videos we have available. He could have had a different opinion in a different video that was taken down, but based on the information we know, he said that true AC was needed for over unity in what he observed as over unity. But our system proves that you don't need a perfect sine wave, just coordinated pulses with our resonant pulsed waveform. Energy additions matter more than waveform purity here. So the possible conclusion is that Nunes might have missed the resonant feedback loop that makes this whole thing work, and failed to describe and categorize this specific waveform as being distinct in its own category altogether. It has its own attributes and characteristics and its own unique phenomenon, right? So you have to handle it uniquely. The real secret here, though, is energy loops are not magic. This isn't free energy. Remember, it's recapturing wasted energy. It's energy recycling. Energy appears less than 100% because standard measurements ignore recycled energy. Whether Nunes was aware of this or not, again, all of his videos were taken down, so we may never know the full extent of his research. But the fact remains that everyone failed to observe what was really happening. the synthetic AC that requires a different method of measurement because it's a different category altogether. Now, is it scalable? Well, if we optimize the pickup coils by adding more channels to them, in my theory, yeah. And specifically placing those, pickup coils in strategic locations around the primary, this could be revolutionary to power systems. So that's just my opinion. So let's talk about some final thoughts here, what this means for the future. The immediate implications are that batteries will last longer on our system. Less energy is wasted as heat, and possible applications in wireless power, EVs, and renewables. So the next step is refining the pickup coil method, experimenting with different lightning thief configurations, like the thruple thief, as I mentioned before, where you have two pickups, or you have one pickup coil split off into two circuits. So you have three dual thief circuits, three lightning thieves, one primary attached to its own coil, and then the pickup coil has two channels, right? And the dual thief is using one channel, but it's not using the second channel. So you can just go ahead and attach another one in a configuration I like to call the thruple thief, which seems to be even capturing even more wasted energy from the wireless method. So a closing statement is the future of energy isn't about creating more, it's about wasting less. And ladies and gentlemen, we may have just found the key to do that. So I'm going to go into an intermission, and I'm probably going to play some video games. So we might transition out of the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices podcast and into some lab coat gaming. Let's check out what chat has to say. Remember, yep, bingo, 100%. Yep, exactly. I like calling it energy recycling. It can help people understand. Exactly, yes. So that's why I've kind of shifted and rebranded this whole, free energy enterprise into something that is more accurate and depicts what's actually going on, but also kind of helps bridge the gap between the fridge and the mainstream, because that's what it's doing. It's recycling the energy. There's nothing free here. You don't get a free lunch. It's a mutual exchange from the vacuum, right? You're providing an instability, and the vacuum is saying, oh, I don't like this. Let me give you more energy to work with so you can stabilize that system. That's all it is. So I'm going to go to an intermission, and we're going to transition to lab coat gaming and play some Silent Hill. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight to the Benefactor's Guide to Free Energy Devices and sticking with me on my unconventional hypothesis. And I hope to have the opportunity to have it scrutinized and looked at and taken seriously. And I hope that people, aim to either refine it or help me out in figuring out a method that truly is able to capture this energy without disrupting the actual energy balance that's going on in the system. And I think that's very important. So again, thanks a lot. And please, 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 ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't hit the like button or subscribe to the channel, it really helps out. And also, we have a beta blocks goal that we are trying to accomplish. I was recently cast for beta blocks, and I'm trying to raise the money for the fees, the entry fee or whatever. So if you're inspired by my content and want to help me get there to promote this technology to the world, I have the link posted in the chat, but I will post it again for you during our intermission. And I really appreciate the contributions from Ian. Ian donated $100, and that was very, very generous of Ian from the Fringe team. So I want to go ahead and give a shout out, major shout out to Ian. He is an amazing gentleman and a scholar. So thank you, everybody, and we'll be back with some Silent Hill. If my internet holds up. Again, I'm on my phone. We're not using a standard connection, so if it holds up. If it doesn't, I might cut the stream.
In a world where innovation is stifled by greed and corruption, there
In base lab alone with my mind. Stable theories, they all refuse to find. I've been working on energy for a brand new day. But even in the crowd, I'm still a castaway. Alienated from the aids of added mentor in disguise. Ideas ahead of time, dismissed with narrow eyes. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world you can't deploy. Changing the system, I treat it like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
I missed that comment. I might be nuts, but at least I don't eat them.
Talking about 0 point, the points lost on them. Kevin structures crumbling from the same old Sam. They laugh like I'm crazy, but I see it all so clear. Exploited labor under injustice burning ears. Fighting for a change in this wasteland of noise. But they call me foolish when teach and boys. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world we can't deploy. Changing the system, but treat it like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice? Chasing revolutions in the darkest nights. A dreamer with vision beneath the laughter and noise. A future so bright waiting for the right choice. Benefactor boy, dreaming about the world he can't deploy. Changing the system, but treat it like a toy. Ideas misunderstood, but brilliance is his boy. Benefactor boy, can't you hear his voice?
And in the depths of shadowed halls, I wandered all alone, casting whispers, binding chains, demons of my own. Toxic death flame, down spread on my frail soul. I once spin my mirror, haunted by my role. But in the echoes of my cries, just still I emerge, guiding me to where my true results are. Now I rise from the shadows with wings of fire and sand, free from the chains of sorrow, while this path of forever deepen. Shattered glass beneath my feet, scars I wear but dry. Stormy nights just turn to dawn, where truth that's my guide. Anxiety's dissolved in the sun's golden ray. You see my destiny through time and space. The fears that once drew to me now they take. For in my heart a new world is proclaimed. Now I rise from the shadows in the depths of his oppression. It's the rise of a true nation.
Feel the pulse, divine sensation. Everyone needs just a little foundation. Feel the pulse, divine sensation. Everyone needs just a little salvation.
Welcome back to Silent Hill with some Lab Coat Gaming. For this section, we're going to have to do a little trial and error and load and reload if we make a mistake. Wrong one. I believe is part 4. We already chose the one next to it, so we're going to choose The first one.